I do examples of the problems you're going to do for homework, and I even do some of the homework problems off the sheet sometimes. And so it's easy to fast forward to the video to the part that you need to see, and that way it's just like having a tutor, okay? And if you don't, many times I don't get something the first time, whether it's a song I'm trying to learn or anything I'm trying to do, and seeing it the second time or the third time makes it make more sense to me. And that's, again, the beauty of the video is you can go, wait, I didn't get that. You can just replay those 3 minutes over and over again because I'll be explaining it in my best form while I'm teaching class. So certainly not that I don't want to meet with you, but class 9s have far less frees, and many times your free is not my free, or I already have an appointment or whatever. And so remember, you have that benefit in my class, and maybe one of the few classes that you have that benefit. You're like, oh, well, I could just see what happened in class and watch it over again. It's better than reading it in a book or something like that. Our slides for today are a story that you may have heard that one of my students showed me today. So Harry Styles watched a fan's dog for them while they picked up their delivery. And so what happened is, if you read the article, I don't know why this is not loading. So I was outside a restaurant in Hollywood trying to pick up my takeout order, but there was a sign on the door, like there are sometimes, that you couldn't take your dog in. And Harry Styles was coming by, and he said, I'll watch your dog. And she's looking at him like, but wait, you're Harry Styles. So anyway, she got a picture of him of watching her dog. And that's our slides today. So I thought that was pretty cool, just trying to be a regular guy. All right. So I'll fade it out later so that I can actually write on it. Okay, so let's look at your worksheet. And I'm going to call out or maybe even write the answers. And so I'll do this really slowly. If you have a question, we'll go back to it. Don't all of a sudden go, what about number 5, okay? So here's the answers to 1 through 16. No matter who you are, what you're doing right now, thinking about how you study for tests in here, you want these answers, okay, in case you want to practice. So double check if if you got it right, that's fine. Okay. Then obviously you wouldn't have to write anything down. If you got it wrong, I'll take questions in a minute. Number 1 is y equals 3/2 x plus 8. Number 2, going across, is y equals 13 over 11x plus 12 over 11. Number 3 is y equals 9 over 7x plus 1. Number 4, going across, is y equals 1/3 x minus 2. I'm sorry, number 4. Y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Number 5, y equals negative 6 over 5x minus 3. Number 6 is y equals 4x minus 1. Number 7, y equals 11 over 4x minus 8. Number 8 is y equals 11 over 8x plus 6. So that's the first 8. Okay. Going down, number 9 is 7x minus y equals 5. Number 10 is x plus y equals 2. Number 11, 4x plus y equals negative 3. Bless you. Number 12 is 5x minus 3y equals 0. Sorry, it's really ugly. 5x minus 3y equals 0. Number 13 is x plus y equals negative 2. And then going over here, number 14 is x equals 2, in which case I do need to talk about that. I didn't realize I let that one creep in there. Number 14 is x equals 2. We're going to talk about that more today. Number 15 is x minus 2y equals 1. And number 16 is 2x minus y equals negative 4. During class today, we'll fill out the bottom part of the worksheet also. Okay. Now, I kind of need to orient this. It doesn't seem like it's, well, maybe it'll be okay. I can't even read number 10. Is that x plus y equals 2?
Yeah.
All right. So, aside from number 14, we're going to go over that for sure. Questions on any of these numbers? Ella?
Number 12.
All right, I'll be doing number 12. What else do I need to do? Another number I need to do, Daniela?
Number 15.
15. Ella?
Same one.
Okay, anybody, Victoire?
Number 5.
Number 5. All right, anybody else? Bailey?
I messed up on 3.
Number 3? Okay. I don't know if you meant 3 problems or number 3.
Oh, no.
Okay, anything else? Anything? Even if we have to do them all. Okay, so you got a lot of them right?
Number 12.
Number 12.
Yes. I think you're
Oh, 12 is circled, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
Okay. All right, so I'm about to erase these. Hopefully you copied them down. If you didn't, you know it's in the first few minutes of the video. Okay? I'm just erasing them so that we can look at the ones we need to do next to the answers I already have here. Your next quiz, whether it is Monday or next Wednesday, I'll decide during class today. Whenever your next quiz is, this is one thing that will be on it, so make sure you're getting this. All right, so let's start with number 3. Number 3 is 9x minus 7y equals negative 7. This is number 3. All right, your instructions are to write the slope-intercept form, which some of you may have still been needing to look at your packet, but that's y equals mx plus b. So if I'm looking for this pattern, y equals mx plus b, I need y to be what a math teacher would call isolated. I need it completely by itself, okay? And Gabby, you might have moved your 7y to the other side and done it a different, as long as you're getting them right, I'm good with it. Okay. You don't have to do it the way that I'm doing it. I'm just going to be real consistent. And then I'll talk about kind of what we did at the end of class the other day that Gabby brought up that you could also do because many of you are ready for that. What you can do to get it right every single time is get the y. If it's not already, you want the y on the left-hand side. Okay? So I'm going to leave this y over here. I want to move the 9x. If I put the 9x on the other side, what does it become? Margot? Negative 9x. So Margot's going to subtract that over here. Okay? Now we also had a discussion, why did I put it next to the equals? Because the x thing goes next to the equals. And so this also had a negative 7 in the back. All right, so I'm going to erase that for a minute. If you want to do that more slowly, you can go negative 9x and negative 9x. So that gives you negative 7y equals negative 9x. And just scoot the 7, scoot it over so that you can squeeze in your negative 9x. Many of you can just do that in your head, I think, like Margot did, okay? You can show, as long as you're getting it right, there's not a certain number of steps I need to see. Now I'm not completely there. I need a y equals. So what do I need to do next? All right, Daniela?
Divide by negative 7.
Very, very good. So Daniela's going to divide by negative 7 so that that'll cancel out, and she gets y. All right, what's a negative 9 over a negative 7? Doesn't reduce, but it's a positive. 9 over 7x, and negative 7 over negative 7 is a positive 1. The answer that I got. Questions? Susan?
So what exactly is the order where we cancel things out?
You do addition or subtraction first, and then do multiplication and division. I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
Like, it's hard for, like, what exactly, like, what order do we go in to, like, cancel?
First of all, okay, I'm going to erase this for a minute, girls. Don't panic. It'll reappear in just a minute. So, Susan, I'm trying to get to 7y, okay? So, if this is what I'm trying to get to, okay? and there's a blue black marker on top of it, and a red marker on top of that. Okay? And I can't make them stay, but anyway, here. I want to get to these sticky notes. Okay? There's some tape and a binder clip on top of it. Everybody watch this. It's a great question if you can see, okay? I really, really, really want those sticky notes. So what do I move first?
The paper clip.
Yeah, I move the binder clip first, the thing that's furthest away. And then what do I move? The thing
tape.
that's stuck to it.
The tape.
Right, okay? So look up here. Your whole prize right now is Y. You really want this purple Y, like super bad. You're trying to get in there and get that Y. So what do you move first? What's the thing that's on the outside, the furthest away from that Y?
7.
No, even further away.
Oh, 9x.
I got to get that out of the way first. I can't get in there and get to that 7. It would be like me trying to be like magic and pull this out. And I'm going to move the binder clip first. Okay? I'm going to move the binder clip first and move it over here. And then I'm going to get rid of this. So do you see the purple Y?
I can see. Yeah.
Okay, so what's furthest away from it?
9x.
Move that first.
Okay.
Because you're trying to clear your space, okay? So to get the 9x completely away from it, I can subtract it. Okay? Now this cancels, and Susan and I have negative 7y. Now girls, we have choices over here in the green. I can either write that as negative 7 minus 9x on that side, or I could write negative 9x in front of the negative 7. Looking at the pattern that I'm looking for, do you see I want to write it the second way? A lot of y'all are doing it in your head, right, Margo? So that's okay too, all right? When I move this negative 9x over here, I want to write it right here, and then I also have a minus 7 that was already sitting there on that other side. Remember, the purple Y is your prize, okay? So, I'm sorry, what kind of 7 should I have? Doesn't this say negative 7? When Susan and I move the 9x, there's a negative 7y there. So let me start over. All right, I have negative 9x minus 7y equals negative 7. You want to solve for y when I tell you to do slope-intercept form, okay? So I'm going to get this right just a second. There's my equation. Okay, so that's number 3. We want to move the 9x. So I'm going to move the 9x. Those cancel, and I bring this down, and I have negative 7y. I put this one in the front of that one. Y equals mx plus b. Now what's in the way? How can I get to my purple Y? What's stuck to it? What's stuck to the purple Y, Susan?
Negative 7.
And isn't it multiplied? Negative 7 times y is what that means. Negative 7y means that's multiplied. So I divide. So I'm going to divide by negative 7 to everything. Now I have y. 9 over 7x. And negative 7 over negative 7 is plus 1. Okay? And I'll keep doing this. All right? All right, now, so if you got that and that's where you are, almost don't pay attention to me, all right? If you are the person, though, that did this, some people understand it better at this point. You all will at some point, but people move along in different paces. And I remember being all the way through school, even now in my life, sometimes this happens, like in the Math Center or something. Like, you know, if Miss Arcan's good at giving us challenge problems that she finds on Twitter or something, and we'll all brainstorm and work on them. And sometimes Mr. Hill or somebody will think of it before me, and I'll think, well, darn, he beat me. Okay. I remember in class sometimes where a student would do something like Gabby mentioned in the last class. Well, could I just do this? And I'd go, That works, but I wouldn't have thought of doing that. But if we both make an A on our test, does it matter if I'm handing my test 10 minutes behind Gabby? Okay? So do what you need right now to get the answer right because we want a good grade. All right? Not only because we want a good grade. Obviously, you want to learn. That's the primary purpose. If you fully understand that you want y by itself, what Gabby mentioned the other day is since this is negative, she saw that she could move this over here and make it positive. She could leave her 9x on this side and move that -7 over there, like she went the opposite direction. Because she knew that this y, she would want to make it positive. And then she divided by 7 and got the same answer. She gets y equals 9 over 7x plus 7 over 7, which is 1. Okay? So that everybody can see that, let's look at this. If I have, I'm just going to do a couple of comparisons. You can just watch if you want to. I'm just going to make up problems that are not on your sheet. If I have 4x plus 3y equals 8, as opposed to 4x minus 3y equals 8. One day you'll do this, if not today, okay? Y is my prize, I'll make it green. Okay? Now, before I do this, I'm going to write this down. 4, that's a 5. 5x plus 3 equals 10. All right? So I'm just going to pause for a minute because right now it may feel like I'm just jumping all around, whereas my brain is just rattling with things I want to show you. So let's just pause and look at the green problem at the bottom and not at someone's computer screen. Okay? But y'all are looking at someone's computer screen. Let's close our computers. Thank you. Okay, how would you solve for x in the green problem? What would you do first? Grazia?
First, you would subtract 3 from both sides.
Okay, so some people are in a mode where they physically have to subtract 3 from both sides. But a lot of y'all are getting to this place where you realize you're going to just subtract 3.
Yeah.
It's over this side, you want to move it to that side. Okay? For those of you that are still in this position, you're going to subtract 3 from both sides. Don't both people end up with 5x equals 10 minus 3? If you do it in your head, I'm saying that's great. That's fine with me. But do you see why it changes signs when you put it on the other side? All right, it's because it goes way back to this when we had to show every step to our teachers. So if I have 7x minus 2 equals 9, I can just add the 2 to the other side. But it comes from physically getting rid of it. Do y'all see where it's coming from? Okay. So is everybody okay with that? Hang on, Maria, I'm going to come to you. When I did this, when I subtracted 3 from both sides, I really have a choice now. I can call it 10 minus 3 or negative 3 plus 10. On this side over here, I have a positive 10 and a negative 3. So I wrote it like this. But your neighbor might write negative 3 plus 10. It's the exact same thing. So these can be written in whatever order is convenient for you. All right? So, Maria, please don't forget your question. So write it down, and if you're going to forget it, I just want to bring up a couple more things. Let's see. I want this to be, over here, would it matter if I wrote 9 plus 2 or 2 plus 9?
No.
Wouldn't matter. You can make a choice, okay? Like, for instance, if you have this, all right, suppose you're solving this. All right, so I think a lot of you would just add the 8 to the other side these days in class 9, all right? Back in middle school, my teacher would have probably made me show my steps. And girls, I'm okay if you show your steps all the way through the 12th grade. It doesn't matter to me. Do whatever it takes to get it right, okay? These cancel, and I have 5x. Now on this side, is it going to look better to you to write negative 5 plus 8 or 8 minus 5? It's going to look better to me to put the 8 in the front. It just looks better to me to have the 8 and the -5 like that. But another student could have done this. They could have said, I have -5 plus 8. It's going to all work out the same. Is it this 3? And is it this 3? Okay. All right, so that's just talking about moving things. All right. In class, you're going to see me just slap that over there sometimes without showing this step over here because we're in high school. All right, so Maria, question.
So, like, I don't put the +2 and for
You don't do this.
no.
So that's good. That's what I'm saying. You could just go ahead and do it in your, kind of do it in your head.
So when you have the 4x plus 3y.
We're going to do that one in just a minute. Okay? And then I'll let you ask a question. Susan?
I go to my nerves.
Okay, so now Maria and everybody else, we're up here on 4x plus 3y equals 8. All right, y is our prize, okay? And so, Maria, I think what you would do, from hearing you, and I know what Margot does and some other people do, is they don't physically go -4x to both sides. They're just going to move it over. But where do you want the x to land if you're working with lines? You want it right next to the equals. So when I move this over here, I can put it in front of the 8 or behind the 8. But when I'm doing lines, I want it in front of the 8. So it's going to be a -4x plus 8. And then divide by 3. Okay? And then reduce. All right, now let's look at this one. And this is all personal choice. You need to just kind of bear down and decide what it is that works for you every time for now. Okay, so the green y is our prize. The equations are very similar. So if we stick with this, I could go -3y. I'm going to move this over here. It's going to be 8 minus 4x or -4x plus 8. Which one do I want? When I move that 4x over there, I want it right next to the what? Equals. So -4x, and then I have a -8. And then what are you going to do? Divide by -3? Okay? Now let's pause. Some students realize at some point in their life, some earlier than others, and being a teacher and even being a student, I can remember I always used to want y on the left-hand side. Y doesn't really have to be on the left-hand side. It's just got to be by itself, wherever it is. There's really no difference in this statement and this statement. Is there? Aren't those both x equals 4? Okay. All right, so again, I keep giving Gabby the credit, and some of you may have gone, well, I knew that too. I'm sorry. Let me pause and go back up here. I never want to confuse you. I think when I drew this green arrow, I didn't realize that I had run into my equals mark right there. I believe that 8 was really positive. Sorry about that. Do y'all see what my mistake was? I couldn't read my own writing. I just didn't want to confuse you. Okay, so now we're back at the green prize. What most students will do is they'll pick up this red 4x and they'll squeeze it right in there as a -4x. And that's great. That'll work every time. What some people realize, though, is they don't like negatives, myself included, okay? So what I actually do is what Gabby brought up the other day, and some of you probably did it in your homework. I don't like negatives. And so I really can move whatever I want to. So I'm going to move this over here and make that a +3y. And when I move the 8 over here, it's going to be -8. And now I only have to divide by what? 3. And y'all see these are the same answer. Okay? So you've got some choices. If you have 7x plus 3y equals 4. The green y is my prize. I would just leave that 3y there because it's already positive. I would move the 7x over. Do Do y'all see what I mean? But if I had this, it really doesn't matter what you move, but I might move the 3y over and put the 4 with the 7. And when you move them back and forth, they change signs. Okay, any other questions before we go back to the problems that we were working on? I still have them on another slide. Somewhere, I hope. Did I lose them? Okay, here it is. All right, so who had asked for number 3?
I did.
Okay, are you okay on 3?
I just messed up on it.
Okay, but do I need to redo it after all that discussion, or you've got it?
We already did.
Right, but you got it when I did it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, because I know sometimes when I go super deep into all these different things that you can do, sometimes I lose people. All right, let's go to number 5. All right, this is number 5. Number 5. Somebody asked for 5. 5 is 6x plus 5y equals negative 15. We're trying to get it in slope-intercept form. I've got to get y by itself. So what am I going to move first? Bailey?
First you would subtract 6x.
Very
X
good.
on both sides.
Okay, and so it'll show up over here. Is everybody okay with that? If you're not, write minus 6x on both sides like Bailey said. Now what are you going to get rid of? Now what are you going to move? Daniela?
Divide by 5.
Divide by 5. Very, very good. Divide by 5. So that gives me y equals negative 6/5 x, and that gives me minus 3, my answer. Do you remember who asked for 5? I don't remember who it was. Is everybody okay? All right, that's it? Uh-huh. All right, so now we're doing number 12.
Mrs. Zeri, could we do 11?
Yeah, let's do 11. We'll stop and do 11 before 12. All right, so this is number 11. Probably the directions have shifted on us. Number 11, we're going through the point negative 2, 5, and it has a slope of negative 4. M all the way through school is going to be slope, so that's good news, okay? When somebody writes M, they're talking about slope. All right, now I'm trying to get this in standard form eventually, okay? So to get it in standard form, I'm going to first start, why am I starting with point slope form?
Because you have a point and
Thank you so much, that's awesome. Because Danielle and I have a point and the slope, okay? So the point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm going to say y minus, which one's the y? 5 equals m times x minus x. Won't that be plus 2? Okay, x minus negative 2. Now this is in point slope form. I'm about to get it in slope intercept form. Y minus 5 equals negative 4x minus 8. If I add the 5 to both sides, I get y is equal to negative 4x minus 3. This is point slope form. This is slope intercept form. Neither one of those are what they asked for. They want standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. This has to be positive. And it can't be a fraction. Those are the rules. All right, so I'm not there yet. So to answer the final question, what do I want to do on 11? You want your x and y on the same side if you're looking for standard form. Gabby?
I mean, for me, again, I'm being really.
If I get right
Just
here.
Switch it again.
Okay, where do I want the x?
X would be
On the other side. So this is going to be 4x plus y. And what's left behind if I move this over here? Negative 3. Is that the answer I called out for 11?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't even look up at who asked for 11. Are you okay?
I think
Sure. Should I move on or wait? Rebecca?
Oh, for that one, you went through all the different
I did go through all the forms.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is it okay that I didn't go through all the forms? I just went through the first one.
You probably went right from here to there. That's fine. No reason to stop there. It's just that I thought some people would probably go ahead and join those together. And the next one I won't stop at slope intercept. Okay. Bailey?
So for the slope intercept form, it's y equals mx plus b, but what is it for standard form?
This right here in red. AX plus BY equals C.
Okay.
And the good thing is it's labeled on the front of your packet. The blah, blah, blah. I think. Do you see that?
Oh, I didn't understand that till now. Okay.
Right. So now that's there. Okay. Another hand was up. Okay. So let's go to number 12. Daniela, they're probably similar if you were asking for 11. And Rebecca, I'll do what you said on 12. All right. On 12, I'm going through 3, 5, and my slope is 5/3. All right. So that's a 5/3. All right, so I am going to start, like Daniela said, if somebody in your whole entire rest of your math and high school and possibly college, you'll keep seeing this, I promise. My students in AP Calculus BC, which is the highest math course we offer, have to do this stuff day in and day out. So if somebody gives you a point and the slope, go to point slope form. Y minus the second one, 5, equals m times x minus the first one, 3. This one's going to be, this is a good one to do because this one's not as much fun as the last one, okay? It's a little harder. So now, Rebecca and I would distribute, right? That's what she said. All right, so that gives me 5 over 3x. What happens if you say 5 over 3 times a 3? Don't those cancel? Do you see 5/3 times 3 cancels? And it leaves you with minus 5. Let me pause and see if you see that.
How do I do that?
Do you see this minus?
Is it not 3? Oh,
There's a minus in front of it. So if I do this, that gives me 5/3 times x. This gives me 5/3 times 3, which is 5. But what's right here? You see the minus in the middle? Let's go to another slide.
you mean the bar one?
No,
Like the division one?
no.
So would it be 0? 'Cause
What's this one? 5 over 3 times x. What's 5 over 3 times 3?
15.
Yeah, but look at this, girls. 5 over 3 times 3 over 1. Don't those just cancel?
Crap.
If I go 5 over 7 times 7, don't I just have 5? Okay? So you don't even really have to multiply them. I guess my point is if I have 117 over 4 times 4. Yes, I could say 117 times 4 and then divide that by 4. But what would be far easier? Cancel the 4s. Do y'all see what I mean? All right, let's go back to what Gabby was asking about the sign. All right? This is 5 over 3 times x. What's 5 over 3 times 3? Is 5. Is it a positive 5 or a negative 5? Look up here, Gabby. Is it a positive 5 or a negative 5?
Positive 5. I get it.
It's because of this.
I didn't
Okay?
understand what you meant by.
Yeah. So this one's going to be 5 over 3x. That one's going to be 5. Is it going to be a positive or a negative? Wasn't it subtracted? So that one's minus. All right. Let's go back to this. Or this. All right, start over. Number 12. Y minus the y equals m times x minus the x. So I have y minus 5 equals 5 over 3 times x minus 5 over 3 times 3. Okay? Now, I'm a big proponent of this. I don't like negatives, and I don't like fractions. My guess is you're just like me, okay? So I don't know at what point I would do this. I think right now I would go in and get my numbers together, which Rebecca, I think is why I did that in the last problem. I believe my numbers are just going to disappear when I move my 5s around. So that's probably why I did that. I probably do actually stop at slope intercept form and get all my numbers on one side. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So it gives me y equals 5/3 x, but what just happened to my -5 and my +5? That's 0, okay? And so now I want to get rid of my fractions. I want to do it right now, right here. I'm going to multiply by 3 to both sides. I'm going to multiply this side by 3 and this side by 3. That gives me 3y.
Then why are you multiplying by 3?
I can't have fractions in standard form, okay? I can't have fractions in standard form, so to get rid of a 3, I multiply by a 3. If I want to get rid of an 11, I'm going to multiply by 11.
Okay.
Won't these cancel? And over here I have 5x. Let me write standard form down for us. And standard form, where does the x have to be? On the same side as the y. Standard form is the only form where the x and the y are on the same side. Girls, some of y'all will make different choices.
Do you have to write it that way? Is it?
If I say write it in standard form, which you'll be told what, so yes, you have to write it in that way. Hang on, Ellen, don't forget your question. I've got to get these on the same side. Some people will move this over here. Well, what kind of x will that give me? If I take this and put it over here, what kind of x? That'll give me a negative, and you can't have a negative in the front because somebody said so. It's sort of like having the argument of why do I have to capitalize a sentence? I guess because somebody said so somewhere along the line. You know, why do I have to say 2 + 2 is 4? Because if I don't do that, then I'm going to be wrong based on what everybody else is doing. So in standard form, somebody said it can't start with a negative. So would it be smarter for me just to move that over there? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the 3y over here. What do I mean by move it over? If I move it to the other side, what's it going to be? Bailey? Negative 3y. Very good. Now, is this the same as this? Are these two green answers? Would I accept that if you wrote this answer on your paper, if this is what the key says on my test? Aren't those exactly the same? Okay. So, the student that at this point, if they choose to move this over here, they get -5x and +3y, and a 0's left on the other side. But now they're still not through. I don't let you start, not me, I don't really care, but they don't let us start the first thing with a negative. So then you would have to multiply everything by -1. What happens if I multiply this by -1? I get 5x. What if I multiply this by -1? I get -3y with 0. But you see it was a little faster. You're all of a sudden at a place in math where you get to make some choices. And I don't make you do it a certain way. Make your choices. Make your life more efficient. Unless you just feel like you're going to mess it up. If you want to do it the same way every time, that's fine. You just might have more steps. Now, I don't care. It's just up to you. You'll have plenty of time to work the test. And some people might leave before you because they're more intuitively seeing it at this point. That will come to you one day, but don't force the issue if you have to just do it the same way every time. Okay? Doing it the same way every time is you just keep moving things until it's right. It's a lot like saying, how do I know when I'm finished with a puzzle? If I brought a puzzle in here and dumped it onto this black table, how would I know when I'm finished with the puzzle? When I see the picture on the box, right? So this is the picture on the box. You know that you're through with the puzzle when you got ax plus by and a c. Ax, a y, and a number. And you can't have any fractions, and the first one's got to be positive. So do you see that's how you know when you got the picture on the box? Y equals mx plus b is another puzzle, picture on the box. That's how you know you're through. So take your steps. You've got to know yourself. That's why I'm so adamant about you doing your homework. those of you that didn't finish your homework, you really, really need to make sure you do that because this just builds, okay? And if you want to sit with me and do it, we can do that. Yana?
So for the standard form, can you have fractions
And the y and z, or you just can't have fractions in the whole equation?
You can have fractions in the whole equation. It's not going to be a big issue for us right now, but if it comes up, you've got to multiply by a number big enough to get rid of all the fractions. Like Yana, if you and I have a 3 on the bottom of one and the 4 in the denominator of another, I'm going to use a 12 to get rid of those. Okay? All right. Okay, and I think we're going to 15 now. This is 15. 15. I'm skipping 14 for now. All right, 15. 15 is, we have 3, 1, and the slope is 1/2. So back to this, we're going to go y minus y equals m times x minus x. Now I'm going to distribute. Y minus 1 equals 1/2 x minus what? Isn't that 3 over 2?
Yeah.
Nothing cancel. It's just a 1/2 times a 3. So you have 3 over 2. I don't even want these fractions anymore. Once I distribute, Sarah?
Oh,
Are you going to tell me?
step, I was just wondering, since they're both 2, can you just do times by 2 again?
I'm going to multiply the whole thing by 2.
So you don't have to do it twice. You just do it.
I can do it right now and get rid of all my fractions. Margot? Yeah. So, Sarah, I'm going to multiply this side by 2. I'm going to multiply everything by 2. In algebra, isn't that okay? If you do it to one thing, you have to do it to everything, okay? So this gives me 2y minus 2 times 1. What's going to happen if Sarah and I multiply 2 times 1/2? What is 2 times 1/2? It's just 1x. And what happens to this part? 3 over 2 times 2. Don't these cancel?
Yeah.
So you have what kind of 3? Negative. Okay. This is the picture of the puzzle that we're looking for. This is the picture on the box. It could also be this, girls, couldn't it? That's what we talked about a lot today. Is everybody okay with that? It could be either one of those. You got it right if you got that, okay? So which one do you want to move? I kind of like the x where it is. Do y'all? So I'm going to leave this x here. I'm going to bring the 2y over with it. So this came over here. What else do I need to move? What else do I need to move? The minus 3? What will it become on the other side?
3.
All right, so I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And that leaves me a 1. Which is what our answer was. X minus 2y equals 1. That's a lot. These lines, which is why I found that I couldn't skip them, it brings up lots of algebra discussion. A lot of multiplication, addition, what form do I want it in, what side do I want it on. It's a lot of good questions. And all of a sudden you've got decisions to make. You've got to do your homework, check your answers, find what works for you, okay? And you can see I'm pretty okay with that. Really okay. All right, and we're going to hit number 14 in a little while, all right? And I'm watching the clock. All right, now I'm going to Desmos. Which one do I want to do first? Let's do this first. No, I tell you what, I'm going to stay on this worksheet for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to Desmos. And, all right, everybody watching, you want to interact with me here. All right, so I'm going to type in a line. Y equals 3x plus 6. Okay, now I'm going to try to make one parallel to that. Y equals. How can I make it parallel? Gabby, first hand I see.
Keep the, I think it's keep the 3x and change to +6.
Okay, it's got to have the same slope, which, girls, I just memorized when I was in Algebra 2. I just flat out memorized it. But do y'all understand why that happens?
Because then,
Gabby, since you're closest to me, if you'll jump up. Watch this. Gabby, get in that square right there. Turn that way around. Okay. Go up 2 and over 1. 1, 2, and over 1. Now do it again. Up 2, over 1. One more time. You ever in? Up 2, over 1. Am I ever going to catch her?
No.
Because you don't, what I was doing behind her, what was I also doing? Up 2 over 1. Did y'all see we were going parallel to each other? If we connected mine and Gabrielle's dots. All right, I'm sorry.
that's fine.
Is that your name?
Yes.
Okay, now get 2 squares in front of me. Okay. Now, I want you to go up 1 over 1. No, over 1. Okay. I'm going up 2 over 1. All right, you go up 1 over 1. But I'm going up 2 over 1. We just intersected. Do y'all see different slopes will intersect? Thanks. Same slopes. If Gabrielle and I have the same slope but a different y-intercept, you were right. I memorized it and you can memorize it. But did y'all see I was never ever going to catch them?
Yes.
They're parallel, okay? Parallel lines never what? Cross intersect. All right, so, and I'm using Desmos because of the color. 3x, you'll get a handout on this in a minute, girls. 3x, what if I go plus 6? Are those parallel?
No.
So I need a different number. Does it matter what number?
You could just do 3x also.
I could just do 3x plus 0 is what that is. Do you see they're parallel? If I change either one of these slopes in the slightest bit, one day they'll intersect. They'll catch each other, okay? So parallels got to have the what? Same slope. Let me give you this handout. Same slope. Let's see. Well, I thought I had one for you. Maybe I didn't. Oh, I just have vertical and horizontal. All right, so I tell you what, on your January 7th packet that also has December something on it. Okay, on this page, it's not on there. Let's write in our hands on this page. Just write yourself like this. All right, so everybody go to this page. This page. No, but Margot, let's just try to remember to catch you up. Or email me and I'll send you a copy, okay? But so you don't know where yours is? Okay. All right, so parallel lines, which we actually write like this so that I don't have to write out the word every time, okay? But these are parallel lines, have the same slope. But Gabby was right at first because she also said a different number. Same slope, but they have to have a different y-intercept, okay? So same M, different B. Because if I have y equals, you could just write this. Okay? If I have y equals 4x plus 7, and then I write y equals 4x plus 7, will those be parallel? I just wrote the same line twice. Do you see you've got to change this number to something else? Okay? All right, now, keep your paper out. I think you already know what you're going to write for perpendicular, but let's do it. All right, so these are not perpendicular, are they? Evelyn, do you need to go to the bathroom or are you going to answer my question? Okay. Let's make these perpendicular. So tell me when I'm perpendicular. 1 over 4. Are those perpendicular? All right, 1 over 5. Are those perpendicular? All right, what if I make this one negative? Ooh, almost, right? I don't think quite, but they look really good, don't they? All right, what about 1 over 3? Those are perpendicular, okay?
Oh, got it.
All right, now, can y'all see that those make a perfect right angle right there? All right, now watch this. Help me kind of brainstorm through this. All right, new line. Y equals 2/3 x plus 1. Okay? Now, we're trying to get perpendicular. I'm just making things up. That's not going to help any, okay? Did y'all see once it got really better when I got a positive and a negative going? All right, if I negate this, make that negative, I come a lot closer to perpendicular, don't I? Those aren't quite perpendicular. How can you tell? If they're perpendicular, shouldn't my paper actually be, can you see how that's not a 90-degree angle? If they're really perpendicular, do you see you'd see green and purple on each edge? I'll do this for you in a minute. So those aren't quite perpendicular, okay? But I think a lot of you know you need to do the complete opposite. You change all the numbers and all the signs. If this is 3 and this is 2, now look at my piece of paper. Are those perpendicular? Can y'all see the green and the purple on the edges of my 90-degree angle?
Yes.
Okay? So what did I do? I changed the sign and I took what's called the reciprocal. All right? So now instead of playing around with it, what if I have y equals 5, negative 5/7 x. You'll see, first of all, I got to get my line going in the opposite direction. So I want y equals, change everything about it, Maria.
Wait, couldn't you? I was gonna say, couldn't you put 7/5?
7 over 5. So Maria's going to change the signs and take the reciprocal. She's going to switch everything about it. The negative's going to become positive, and she's going to take what's called the reciprocal, 7 over 5 x. And does it matter if she says plus? It doesn't matter what she says. She could go plus 2. Are those still perpendicular?
Yes.
If I put my paper up, they would be. I could go minus 2. So these don't matter what your y-intercept is. It just matters what the slope is. Okay? Yana?
So then the y-intercept could again be plus 1.
It could be plus 1 even. Let's do that. So your y-intercept only matters on parallel. Okay? Again, girls, though, I don't just tell you to where you're memorizing it. I hope you see it. You know you're not going to have parallel lines if they're just both y equals 4x. What if they're both y equals 4x plus 3? Those are not parallel. They're the same. Okay? All right, so on your sheet of paper, everybody have this sheet back out? Let's write this down. Okay, so this is the symbol for perpendicular so that we can move faster through class sometimes. I'll just do this, and that means perpendicular. I think you've seen these two before, I hope. Haven't you? A lot of you? All right, so perpendicular have what we call opposite, reciprocal, slopes. Opposite, reciprocal, slopes. So let's go back to what Yana said. What letter do we use for slope? M. So it only affects the M's. It does not matter anything what your B or your y-intercept is. So let's give a little example of this. If you have a line with a slope of 5/2, what would the perpendicular line have? Negative 2 over 5. So what do these words mean to us? Opposite, reciprocal. Reciprocal makes you do this, and opposite makes you change the sign. Is that what you're going to say, baby?
Yeah.
Okay, opposites means 5 and negative 5, 7/3 and negative 7/3. It's not enough just to make them opposites, you also have to flip them, opposite reciprocals. All right? Okay, so now let's look at this. Or I'll tell you what, let's get your sheet out. So still in your packet, for our last few minutes, I'm keeping an eye on the time. We're going to do number 17 together, okay? You'll have probably a Delta math assignment that's similar to this. I'm kind of deciding as I go. I have a lot of different variations of what assignment you're going to do. By the way, I've updated the syllabus, but it just ever changes. I didn't expect all those questions today, so I'll try to remember to update it again. But just what's your place you always look as assignments, okay? It might not even match what's on the syllabus, but it sort of does. Okay, so number 17. You're going through 4-2, and it's parallel to y equals negative 3/4 x minus 5. Margot, you might want to look on with Ella just so you see what the wording looks like, okay? Because they actually wrote out the word parallel. So parallel, they need the same slope. So I see the slope of this one is negative 3/4. So the slope of the one I'm trying to write has to have the same slope. Okay? Girls, if I said write me a line parallel to this one, it's got to have the same slope. Okay? Now, go back to what Daniela said when we started class. What do you have now? You have a point and you know the slope. So which form are you going to use? Point slope. Y minus the y equals m times x minus the x. And that's it, because it says write the point slope form. Okay, now if you wanted y-intercept form, you'd have to distribute. So don't even write down. This is the answer to number 17. But watch if I went to slope-intercept form. I would say y minus 2, watch this, girls, negative 3/4 x. What's a negative times a negative? And what's going to happen to these 4s? So I'm going to have that. And then what is the last thing I'm going to do to get it in slope-intercept form? Add the 2. So these will be parallel. Why? Same slope, but different y-intercept. Okay? This is the answer on your paper. All right, now let's look at, oh, these are all parallel, okay? So we have time for one more. All right, so if I'm going to do parallel, I don't know why I just erased that, sorry, but you can look toward the end of the notes. All right, let's do number 20. Number 20 is you're going through negative 1/4, and it's parallel to y equals negative 5x plus 2. What's the slope of this line? Negative 5. So if they're parallel, I need the what slope? Same slope. So I'm going to say y minus y equals m times x minus x. When I make it go through this point, it makes the line with the same slope, but it's gone through another point, like Gabby and I were doing a second ago, okay? And according to our sheet right here, it says I can leave it in point slope form, so I'm through. If it says on your homework slope-intercept form or standard form, we talked a lot about today how to change that, okay? Yeah, because it's x minus negative 1, okay? Now, one more thing you might encounter in your homework. What if it said through negative 1/4 and you want it perpendicular? It'll say the word perpendicular to y equals negative 5x plus 2. All right, you already know you want a line going through a point. So you have y minus y equals m times x minus x. I need to know what slope to use. If it's parallel, I'll use the same slope. If it's perpendicular, I take the opposite, so it'll be positive. Reciprocal. What's the reciprocal of 5? Isn't 5 over 1?
Yeah.
So what's the reciprocal of 5? 1/5. Do y'all see how these are opposite reciprocals? They have different signs and it's been flipped over. And that's how you would do it. Okay, so perpendicular, you change the sign and flip it over. So your homework's going to be on Delta Math. And I have a lot of handouts we'll do next class. No quiz. We'll do a worksheet together on 3 forms before you have a quiz. Okay? So make sure you check. Oh, girls, don't do Delta Math until you see the word updated. Because right now I'll put a bunch of stuff in there that I haven't covered yet. So don't run into your free right now and start your homework unless in a few minutes you see the word updated. I'll update it in the next 10 minutes unless something happens, okay? Bye, girls.
Adios.